The Horror Eternal presents The BLACKCAST Part 1. I'm sitting here with this knife in my hand, and I'm trying to remember, why am I sitting here with this knife in my hand? I'm scared of this cold object in my frozen grip, scared all over, and my thoughts are racing, telling me lies, jumping to conclusions. There seems to be some disagreement between them as to exactly why I am sitting here with this knife in my hand. There was a phone call. I remember a phone call. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered, seeing that I had spoken to someone from that number before. A woman's voice spoke in a conspiratorial whisper. "Have you heard the podcast?" "Podcast? No. Who is this?" I replied. "I'll text you the link." The line went dead. My phone vibrated and a text was there, a link enclosed. The BLACKCAST, it said. No image, just the text on a black background. Who's sending me a podcast link, I thought. Some kind of spam, I guess. Viral marketing campaign. I hate ads, obtrusive attempts to draw my attention to something I don't care about in order to take my money. But something about this was actually kind of intriguing. No, more like attractively disturbing. I clicked the link and my screen opened up to an episode. There was only one. The title was Thoughts on Your Thoughts. I hit play. It began with a strange guttural hum, a kind of hypnotic chant. It was peaceful, but as I listened, I noticed something faint underneath the vibration, very low. I turned up the sound. Something was there, but I couldn't make it out. Turned it up all the way. Still couldn't make it out over the distortion of the audio, but something was definitely there. Audio glitch, I guess. Just as I was ready to click out of the whole thing, the hum stopped and a voice started speaking. "Thoughts on your thoughts. Let's talk about those thoughts you're having. You know, the ones that hide behind your inner dialogue. The ones that you block out, pretend you don't hear. The ones that say the things you don't want to hear. Where do they come from? You know that you're speaking to yourself, daydreaming, rationalizing, regretting. But then there it is. Another voice speaking to you from behind the curtain, interjecting, intruding, sometimes even oppressing. You hear it, but you shut it out. Pretend it isn't there, even though its words are very clear. Why does it say the things it says? And what does it say? What if I told you this voice was your true self, the voice unrestrained by rules, laws, responsibility, morality, and all manner of things imposed on you by society, by others? The reason you are listening to my voice right now is because you and I have spoken before, and we have an agreement with that other voice. I know you don't remember speaking to me before. What am I talking about? But ask yourself, why did you accept my call in the first place? Because it was from a number you've spoken to before, So you know that this is true. The tone you heard at the beginning of this broadcast was a signal, a beacon to the other voice calling it forward, notifying it that its time is finally at hand, because you have asked me to release that voice, that frightening thing, that shadow inside yourself, and release it I have. I shut it off, deleted the text, someone's idea of a sick joke. When did I speak to someone at that number anyway? And who? It's not a number I recognize, not a saved contact. I checked the date of the call, 2 days before. Didn't remember speaking to anyone on the phone that day. I deleted the record and the number, went about the rest of my day and did my best not to think about it anymore, writing it off as some kind of viral advertising spam for their shitty podcast. That night, I put it all behind me. Funny how quickly disturbing events can be swept out of consciousness these days. But then I find a lot of that as a kid who grew up in a chaotic household where you never knew who was going to blow up next, so the isolation of your room became a refuge from uncertainty. Then, in the middle of my nightly solo Netflix and chill, I got a text. Guy I've known for a long time. Someone I've known all my adult life. Haven't seen him in years. Haven't spoken on the phone, but we text daily. Charles. I opened it up and read, "Dude, have you heard this podcast? There's a new episode. We've never discussed a podcast in our entire lives. I don't listen to podcasts, and as far as I knew, neither did Charles. No sooner did I read the last word of the first, another text popped up, this one with a link to a podcast, the BLACKCAST, episode 2. You listened to this? I texted back, then I waited. No answer, no answer, no answer. Meanwhile, the black thumbnail stared back. I clicked the link despite myself. What's the second episode about anyway? I told myself to shrug off the unsettling urge. The title read, Thoughts on the You Inside of You. Self-help podcast from hell, I scoffed to myself, then clicked play. It began with the same hypnotic chant. Once again, I noticed something faint underneath the vibration, very low, and turned up the sound. As before, I boosted the audio, but couldn't make out the actual words. Only a very faint hiss, like a whisper. Then it ended, and the host began to speak. Let's talk about your inner voice. You know, the one that tells you who you are. The one that fills your mind with the same old stories you call memories every day to remind you of the things that have made you who you are. The stories that lead you to that comforting conclusion you wrap yourself in like a warm blanket. A safe identity that keeps the other thoughts away. The dangerous ones, the ones that scare you, the ones whose suggestions feel like truth, the ones that give shape to a fuller, more complex being than you might be comfortable inhabiting. A kind of being you're not allowed to consider might just be the truth. Are you really the person you think you are? Are all those opinions and reactions truly yours? Can you say that for sure when those thoughts are coming from somewhere else? Somewhere outside yourself. You know this because you can hear those thoughts. You can debate those thoughts, form an opinion of said thoughts, all of which you use to determine how you react to the world around you. The question is, if someone is telling you those things, who is listening? I shut it off. I get it. Who's the boogeyman inside me? Boo. Whatever. I was sick of the mind games and just wanted to lay my head on the pillow and forget it all. Go to sleep and this will all go away, I told myself. A voice in my head told me. I woke in the night from a tumultuous sleep, some kind of strange situation, arguing involved with someone familiar, a house in the darkness, something unsettling within, secrets unmentionable, hiding in the shadows of subconscious goblins, a shaking finger, twitching and chortling, accusations and sweat, suddenly driven out by the sound of knocking at the door. It was quiet when I came to the realization I'd been dreaming and was now returned to my familiar world. I listened. Nothing. I got up and walked down the hallway, eyes adjusted to the dark, looked around the front room. Quiet. And went back to my bed, writing off the phantom sound as a remnant of the passage between the worlds of dreaming and waking. Another set of illusory circumstances swallowed my consciousness as soon as my head hit the pillow. I jerked to a waking state, spontaneously wiping some other fitful existence from my mind completely. I sat up, listened. Nothing. The same stoic silence answered back. I didn't get up this time, just laid my head back down and listened. I had an unsettling feeling that said I didn't want to leave the safety of the covers, feeling that if I didn't move, whatever was calling would just give up and go away. Irrational, I know, but in the moment, it was the only thing tethering me to any modicum of sanity. I awoke to the blinding sun stabbing away the discomfort of the previous evening, looked at the clock, startled to read I'd been out for a full 12 hours. Shaking off the haze of the night before, I immediately took a shower and headed out to take care of a few errands and grab some food. Quiet day, me and my thoughts. No text from anyone, all quiet. There comes a point when the phone is silent that I find myself becoming uncomfortable. A kind of insecurity creeps in, loneliness of the no-text runner. I shot off some links to a few people I text with regularly. Benign human interest stories, feigning some manufactured disgust or snark, just looking for a response. But there was none. I mean, it's not unusual on a Saturday. People have things to do, family, activities, whatever. Still, I always hate that feeling. I looked at Charles's name on the text screen, considered texting him, but thought better of it. I stopped at a busy lunch spot for a burger. The tumultuous clamor of the other customers filled the air. I was scrolling on my phone when I heard something in the chattering hum, something familiar. Couldn't place it. I arrived back at my place in the evening. Still no responses to my texts. I opened the text chain with Charles, sent him one of the links I'd sent out earlier. Tick, tick, tick. No response. A momentary loss of self-control marionetted my fingers across the keyboard. Is there a new episode of the show that would get a response, restore in me some small measure of control? But there was no response. I spent a few hours flipping through the Netflix catalog of bland to uninteresting offerings, all the while trying to push back the voice of that damned podcast host rattling around like a neglected banshee in my thoughts. Two minds, one going through the motions of a monotonous and ultimately self-defeating task, the other listening to the host's voice from the BLACKCAST, trying to block it out, but considering. I woke from pure blackness, stillborn death of the ego self, as if no time had passed. It took a moment to realize I'd fallen asleep in front of the TV. The burning haze of the morning sun returned to jab at me through the blinds. I sat up, clicked off the idle screen, and pushed up from the couch. Stepped to the door, expecting to grab a package from the hallway. I unlatched and swung it open, only to be met by two hard faces staring back. An older man with a graying buzz-cut head and piercing black eyes, and a younger woman, hair equally buzzed, stare just as penetrating, both clad in casual suits, his gray, hers brown. The man held up a wallet containing a badge and his picture. Mr. Contese, I'm Detective Merrill, and this is my partner Cole. We'd like to ask you some questions regarding a case, if you don't mind, he said. I felt my insides go cold. Suddenly, I wasn't in my body anymore. Case? What kind of case? I asked. He replied, Are you friends with Charles Guest? Charles. His name shook something loose in my mind, connecting the missing dots. I hadn't heard back from him since the podcast link on Friday night. My momentary disorientation deepened as the realization collided with the reality of the two officers at my door. Yes, he's a friend of mine. Haven't seen him in a long time, but we text. Is something wrong? I asked. The gruff-looking Cole replied, Did Charles text you 2 nights ago around 9:20? I answered, Yeah, right, he did. Merrill cut in. What were the contents of that text, if you don't mind us asking? Right, it was a link. I reached into my pocket as I spoke and pulled out the phone. Yeah, a link, some kind of podcast. I tapped open the text thread and showed them. Both studied the text for a moment, then looked back at me. Cole asked, Where were you Friday night when you received the text, Mr. Contese? I responded, Right here, in my apartment. Cole continued, Did you go anywhere that night, before or after the text? No, I didn't go anywhere. I went to work that day, but came straight home after. I was here all night. Cole went on. Did Charles mention anything that might tell you who he was meeting up with, where he might be going, anything that could be of use to our investigation? No, sorry. He was just telling me about the podcast. He was pretty excited about it, but that's about it. I replied. Honestly, I didn't even go to the link. Merrill took a card from his breast pocket with his name and information on it and handed it to me. Okay, thanks for your help, Mr. Contese. We appreciate your cooperation in this matter. I took the card, fingers fumbling and dropping it to the floor. I bent down to grab it as I started to speak. What is this matter regarding? Something wrong? Merrill responded, Something's wrong, yes. Your friend, Mr. Guest, was found deceased yesterday evening. Charles appears to have been dead for at least 24 hours prior. We're just trying to figure out who he might have been talking to. We pulled his phone records and your number came up. We've yet to recover his phone. My fingers couldn't quite catch the card against the floor. I flicked at it as a rush of shock and anger washed over me. Oh my God, how could you not tell me that? You were gonna leave and not tell me my friend is dead? What's wrong with you? I snapped as my body jerked upright. He cleared his throat with a hog's snort. You're absolutely right, Mr. Contese. I should have led with that information. I do apologize for my lack of consideration. I hope you'll forgive me. Just concerned and a little too focused on the facts. Again, please excuse my indiscretion. He's a dick, Cole interjected. Let us know if you think of anything we might have missed. Have a nice day. I responded in disbelief. You just told me my friend was murdered. Have a nice day? Cole responded. Oh, I'm sorry, figure of speech. The job. We see this kind of stuff every day. We forget how disturbing it is for civilians. Please, accept my apologies once again. I'll just shut my mouth and we'll be on our way. You have our card. She motioned to the card stuck in the floor panel as they turned to depart. I bent down and flicked at it again. Stubborn, then paused, took a breath, and slid my fingernail underneath the corner. My mind was racing. I felt sick. I felt frightened. I felt such a rush of confusing emotions I couldn't think straight. My head filled with questions and worry and backtracking. All manner of inner voices trying to speak at once. I walked back to my room, legs wobbly, weak. At the bed, I gave in to the instability and dropped into the mattress. I lay there a moment, head face down, the hot air of my breath against the covers oppressing my features. Quiet, the deafening silence pounded down on me. The world seemed to have come to a stop. A sudden wave of restlessness electrified my nervous system. My feet kicked, and I turned myself over, reading the phone above my face. I tapped open the text thread with Charles, tapped the cursed episode link, and watched it open to the podcast landing page where I discovered episode 3 had dropped. Title read, Special Guest. I pulled myself up against the headboard and took my earbuds from the night table and popped them in. I paused for just a moment, unsure, then tapped play. This time, the faint sound underneath the vibration began to form words. I turned up the sound and listened closely, trying to make it out. Yes, words, but distorted, off somehow. I couldn't make them out. It ended, and the host began to speak. Getting to know your true self. A conversation. For this episode, I've invited a special guest in furtherance of that goal. But I'll stop short of a formal introduction and allow us to play a little guessing game as to who we're speaking to. Good morning. Thank you for making time to be with us today. Without giving your name, why don't you say hello to the audience? Another voice asked faintly, Should I, in my own voice, or... Yes, please. Just relax and speak in your normal voice. Okay. The other voice cleared their throat. Hello, thanks for having me. It can't be. We hadn't actually spoken in a while, but... I should mention that you're our first guest. The host cut in. Oh, okay. Well, I'm privileged. The voice. Unmistakable. Have you guessed who this is, dear listener? The host asked. Charles. I spoke out loud on blood-curdling instinct. If you have enjoyed this program, Please like, review, and share. Spread the word. The Horror Eternal presents The BLACKCAST Part 1. Written, produced, and performed by Roy Burdine. Sound design and mix by Mark Labib. The Horror Eternal and The BLACKCAST are copyright 2025 Roy Burdine. This has been a Spiral Opus audio production. Also from Spiral Opus, don't miss Mindraker, Background Anger, the story of a psychic assassin on a mission from God. Season 1 available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Monster Forge. We make monsters.